Namaste, Jai Bharat. When I was looking at Muhammad Iqbal's version of Islam, rather his perspective of Islam, it's, it became very striking that they have a lot of things in common. The version of Muhammad Iqbal's Islam has a lot of things in common with communism, and Marxism may not have so many things in common through communism, of course. Through communism it has. But if you are strictly theoretically Marxist, this may not be the case every time. Anyway, the point is, Iqbal would say Islam is a polity. Of course, communists also would say it's a polity. Secondly, Iqbal would say Islam is a nation. Islam is a nation. What kind of nation? It's a nation beyond nations. Don't you think it comes very close to the Marxian theory of classlessness and statelessness? Of course, if you closely look at the Iqbalian version of Islam, then it comes very close to the classlessness and statelessness of Marx. Then he also says Islam is a nation, of course. Trans geography, trans language, trans whichever human race you belong to, this becomes states withering away situation. The communists of late are internationalism. They go for internationalism. For them, nationalism doesn't mean anything, because for them, for communists, communism, the Communist International, is important, especially when Lenin declared that workers of the world unite. They also have an international song, and they also had their first international, second international, etc. So they go for internationalism. That's one communist society without state, etc. Of course, they also speak about class, without class. But if you talk about Iqbalian version of Islam, he also aspires for the same thing, though not that explicitly, but he wants all Muslims in the world to be one, something very close to pan-Islamism, or rather beyond pan-Islamism. And Islam is an authority to Iqbal, which has to be obeyed. Same thing in Marxism. They have Marxist party, the Communist party, which is an authority. Actually, the Communist party's authority really implies indirectly the party leadership's authority, and party leaderships are mostly one person, two persons, or few, couple of people who would think, decide, and others will have to obey. So, Islam is an authority to which one has to be loyal to. Unquestionably, you have to be loyal to, emotionally and otherwise. The same thing is demanded in communism. They are also very emotional. The communists also are very emotional, and they are emotionally loyal to some principle of communism as they understand. Now, it's very difficult to create a universality out of the versions of Marxism or communism, versions of communism. But they believe it's one. Same is the case with Islam. There are varieties of Islam. People look at Islam in multiple ways, but the Iqbalian version he thinks is the ideal, and he was speaking upon that. So that's also an authority which has to be followed. Communism is also an authority which has to be followed. It's something very interesting. They operationally coming very close. Why is it so? I don't know. Why is it so? I don't know. What is the structural relationship between the thought structures in both systems, if at all there are serious thought structures, apart from fantasies? And of course, once it is structurally similar, there will also be functional similarity. So there is a lot of things very interestingly common to Iqbalian version of Islam and whichever version of communism. picking up what is common average. It's interesting how they have come to more or less the same conclusion from different directions, apparently diagonally opposite directions, but they are really not diagonally opposite in the way they present things and way they understand things and the way they want things to function. This is interesting to think about. One is explicitly atheistic, supposed to be materialistic, so naturally atheistic, and one is supposed to be absolutely theistic, monotheistic, but they function alike. We'll see again with some other thoughts. Till then, Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.